All right, everybody, welcome to our walkthrough for the 2023-2024 FAFSA application, which opens on October 1st, 2022. There have been a few changes for the 2023-2024 FAFSA, which includes the selective service and drug conviction eligibility questions being removed, and it also includes the My Student Aid mobile app having been retired back on June 30th. But to go ahead and get started with this year's FAFSA application, go ahead and come to studentaid.gov, and then from here you'll just hover over where it says FAFSA form and then go ahead and click on complete FAFSA form. That will take you to the role selection page, where from here you'll just select whether you're the student, the parent, or the preparer filling out the FAFSA. So we'll go ahead and select student, and then from here we'll either use our already created FSA ID to log in, or if you haven't created an FSA ID yet, you can go ahead and do that here. After you log in with your FSA ID, it will take you to the Getting Started page. From here, you'll just select the school aid year for which you are applying for financial aid. So we'll go ahead and we'll start the 2023-24 FAFSA form. The first step once you start your FAFSA form is it wants you to create your save key. The save key is just for temporary use in case you need to save and come back to your FAFSA application at a later time. So when you create your save key, just make sure you write it down or remember it, because if you have to save your progress and leave, when you come back, you will have to enter in your save key to get back where you were. After you create your save key, it will take you to the introduction page. From here, you can click on the different drop downs and read the general information it provides. And then you can go ahead and click continue to get started. So the FAFSA application is split into 7 different sections, with the first one being the student demographics. The first part of student demographics is the personal information for the student. Now this information should have already auto-filled with the information that is used for your FSA ID. So once you're on this page, just be sure to verify that the information is correct. Go ahead and verify the last 4 of your social security number, your first name, last name, middle initial, as well as your date of birth. And then from there, you can go ahead and click continue. The next page in the student demographics section is the page for the student email and phone number. Now, it is extremely important that you do enter in your personal email address, and you don't use one belonging to a school, whether it be your high school or a college or university. And also be sure to not use your parent email address or an email address belonging to a family member. The same goes when it comes to your telephone number. Be sure to enter in your personal telephone number and do not enter that of a parent or family member. The next page in the student demographics section is the student address. The information should already be auto-filled from your FSA ID, so if that's the case, you could just verify the information and continue on. Or if any changes have been made to your address since you created your FSA ID, you can go ahead and make those changes here before continuing. It is important to note that you should use your permanent mailing address and that you should not use an address belonging to the high school or any college or university you're interested in. Don't add the address for the financial aid office or any of the on-campus housing options. Just use your permanent mailing address, as some communication from the FAFSA application may be sent to that address as needed. Continuing on, we have student residency and eligibility. It will ask you if you have lived in your current state for at least 5 years. If you have, go ahead and just select yes. If not, it will ask you what your state of legal residence is. And then from there, it will ask you if you are a U.S. citizen. You have 3 options: yes, and then you have no, but you're an eligible non-citizen, and then you have no, you're not a citizen or an eligible non-citizen. For more of a breakdown, you can go ahead and click that little question mark right there. It will bring up this pop-up, and then from here you can read more information, such as how you would qualify as an eligible non-citizen. So make your selection, and then you can go ahead and continue on. Next, we have student education. The first question asks, what will be your high school completion status when you begin college for the 23-24 school year? So you'll select the option that relates to you. So if you'll be graduating high school with your high school diploma and then beginning college with said diploma, you'll go ahead and select that. Next, it'll ask you what you will be working towards when you begin college. So you have a couple different options for the majority of students graduating from high school. You'll go ahead and you'll just select first bachelor's degree. But if you already know that you're pursuing something separate like an associate's, you can go ahead and select whichever applies to you. If you select first bachelor's degree, for the next question that asks if you will already have your first bachelor's degree, it will just go ahead and auto-select no there for you. Next, it'll ask you what your college grade level will be when you begin the 23-24 year. So again, for new college freshmen straight out of high school, you will select never attended college / first year. It is important to keep in mind that dual credits or AP credits earned while in high school don't count towards this question. It's asking if you've actually attended college full-time before, so we'll go ahead and just select never attended college / first year. And then the final question for this page, it just asks you if you are interested in being considered for work study. Work study is a federally funded part-time job where students can earn up to their work study awards. We always do recommend that students select yes no matter what, as selecting no or don't know will forfeit your chances at receiving that work study award. So again, we do always encourage students to select yes. With that being said, selecting yes doesn't always guarantee you will receive a work study award. The next question asks for your driver's license number if you have one, as well as your driver's license state. So if you do have a driver's license and you do want to enter in your number, you go ahead and do that here. However, it is not required. So if you don't have a driver's license and you don't have that number, or you don't want to enter it here, like I said, it's not required, so you can go ahead and continue on. The final page for the student demographics section will first ask you if you were a foster youth or if you were in the foster care system at any time. So you'll go ahead and select either yes or no. And then finally, it will ask you for the highest school completed by both parent 1 and parent 2. These selections don't affect your eligibility for federal aid. They are just used for some state or for some scholarship purposes. So you'll go ahead and just select the highest school completed by both parents. You can only enter in information for one parent if that does apply to you. That brings us to the end of the student demographics section and starts the school selection section. So for this first page, you'll go ahead and add information about your high school. So the first section, you'll go ahead and enter in your state. And then from there, you'll go ahead and just search by city name as well as high school name. Once you have that entered in, you can go ahead and hit search, and then it will give you a list. The more broad you are in the information up here, the larger the list will be. So if you enter in your specific high school name, most likely that will be the only one that pops up. So go ahead and select your high school, and then from here we can continue on. Once you hit continue, it will just ask you to confirm your high school. So go ahead, just verify the information before moving on. Next is the college search or the college selection page. This is where you can add up to 10 schools that you're interested in to have your FAFSA data sent to. So you have two options. You could either search by state, city, and school name, similar to how you did with your high school, or you can go ahead and search by federal school code. So if you know the federal school code for the schools you may be interested in, you can go ahead and just enter them here. So for NMSU, I'll go ahead and enter in 002657. From here, go ahead and click search. And then once again, it will bring up that list that you go ahead and just select from. Like I said, you can add up to 10 schools, and you can come back at any time after you've submitted your application and add or remove schools. After you add all of your schools, it will take you to the next page where it wants you to select your housing plan for the different schools. So you will have three options. on campus, with parent, or off campus. If you're not sure yet, we do typically recommend that you just select on campus, but you can also change that after you have submitted your application. So go ahead and select your housing plan for each of the schools you have selected, or you could go in and add even more schools up to the maximum 10. That wraps up the school selection section and brings us to section number 3 of the FAFSA application, which is dependency status. So the first question here is asking for the student marital status as of today. Now, it is important to keep in mind that it is asking for the information as of the day that you are completing the FAFSA application. So even if you may, have a date set in the future to get married, if you are filling out the FAFSA application and you are, single as of that day you are filling it out, you will go ahead and just select single or whichever option best pertains to you. If you do select married/remarried or divorced/widowed, it will ask you to enter in the month and year that the corresponding event did take place. But if you are just single, go ahead and select that and continue on. The next page is asking if you, the student, have dependents. So the first question will ask if you currently have dependent children who will receive more than half of their support from you between July 1st, 2023 and June 30th, 2024. That first question is asking specifically about children. The second question is asking if you have any other dependents other than your children or spouse if you are married who live with you and will receive more than half of their support from you through June 30th, 2024. So if the answer is yes, of course you'll select yes, and then if not, you'll select no and go ahead and continue on. Next, you will have a few additional dependency questions. You will go ahead and check off all that apply to you. So the first one is just asking if you're currently serving on active duty in the U.S. Armed Forces for purposes other than training. Next, it asks you if you're a U.S. veteran. It will ask you if both of your parents were deceased since any time that you were 13, or if you were in foster care or a dependent or ward of the court. Next, it will ask you if you were an emancipated minor. And then finally, it asks you if someone other than your parent or step-parent has legal guardianship of you as determined by a court in your state of legal residence. So for example, if grandma or an aunt or uncle is your legal guardian, then you'll go ahead and check that off. But if none of these apply to you, you'll go ahead and just check off none of the above and continue on. Next is the student homelessness question. It just asks that on or after July 1st, were you homeless or were you self-supporting and at risk of being homeless? Homeless, for the sake of the FAFSA application, means lacking fixed, regular, and adequate housing. You may be homeless if you're living in shelters, parks, motels, hotels, public spaces, camping grounds, cars, abandoned buildings, or if you're temporarily living with other people. If you do select yes, keep in mind that you may be asked by your financial aid office to provide additional documentation, so just select whichever answer best pertains to you. The next page will give you information on if you have been determined to be an independent or a dependent student. And I'll ask you if you will provide information about your parents. If you are a dependent student, you will be required to provide information about your parents. And if you are independent, you do have that choice. Keep in mind that your dependency status, whether you're dependent or independent, is not determined by you, the student, and is determined by other factors such as the information that you provided in your FAFSA application. If you're looking for more information on how to become independent or dependency versus independency, we do have another video on this YouTube channel that you can view for more information on that. But go ahead, if you are a dependent student, like I said, you will be required to provide information about your parents to submit your FAFSA application. So we're going to go ahead and select that and continue on. Doing so wraps up the dependency status section and brings us to parent demographics. Before you get started in entering in information in the parent demographics section, it will just bring you to this page with another one of those accordion style drop-down menus. You can go ahead and just read more information as it pertains to your specific situation, but there's nothing on this page you have to select or enter. You can go ahead and just continue on. So the first question will be asking for your parent marital status, whether they are never married, unmarried but living together, married or remarried, divorced or separated, or widowed. So you will pick whichever best pertains to your parents. For this FAFSA application, I'm doing it as if it is through the POV of a student with a single parent. So I'll go ahead and I'll select divorced or separated. Just like if you select married or remarried, it will ask you for the month and year that happened. So go ahead and just enter that. And then if your parents are divorced or separated, or you are only providing the information for one parent, it will ask you which parent's information will be provided. So go ahead and just select that and we can continue on. Next, it will ask you for information for your parents beginning with their social security number. You'll go ahead and just enter that in this box. If your parent does not have a social security number, then you'll go ahead and just enter in all zeros. Next, it'll ask you for their last name, first initial, date of birth, and then email address. The email address is not required, but if your parent has an email address and would like to be notified by email when your FAFSA form is processed, you can enter in the email address there. Continuing on through the parent demographics section, it will ask the same residency questions that it asked for you, the student. So first, it will ask you if you've lived in your state for at least 5 years. If the answer is no, it will ask you for your state of legal residence. But if the answer is yes, you'll go ahead and continue on. The next page is asking for more information about your parents' other dependents. The first question asks how many other dependent children other than you, the student, do your parents have? So again, be sure do not include yourself in that number. Just include other children your parents have, not including yourself. And then I'll ask how many other dependents does your family have as well, not counting you and not counting children. So in this box right here, you'll include other dependents if they currently live with your family and if they receive more than half of their support from your family, and if they will continue to receive half of their support from your family. So for example, if grandma, aunts, uncles, cousins live with you and are supported by your family, this is where you'll tally them up and count them there. But if not, go ahead and just enter in 0 and continue on. The next page is what includes your household size, and it should have the total tally. So for here, it says my household size is 3. It includes me, the student, my father, as well as the other dependent children that my parent has. So go ahead and make sure that the number is correct. If it's not, you can hit previous and go back to the prior pages and make those corrections. Finally, it will ask you to enter in the number in college in your family. You'll go ahead and enter that number here. You will include yourself, the student, and any other siblings or dependents in your family who are currently in college, but you do not include your parents. So again, this box, you just enter in the number that's in college, including yourself, but excluding your parents. So that goes ahead and wraps up the parent demographics section, and that brings us to the financial section of the FAFSA application, starting first with the parent financials. So for the 23-24 FAFSA application, that is using your 2021 taxes. So this first question is asking about the parent tax filing status. It's asking for 2021, has your parents completed their IRS income tax returns or another tax return? You have a few different options: already completed, will file, or not going to file. If you have already completed it, it will ask you what type of income tax return did you file. Most likely, for the majority of students, it will just be the simple IRS form 1040. And then it will ask you for the filing status according to the tax return. That information can be found at the top of the tax return, but there are a few different options. Now, when you enter in the different information, if your parents have filed taxes and if they did the 1040, most likely they will be eligible for the IRS data retrieval tool. Now what that is it links your FAFSA application directly with the IRS to import the information from your parents' taxes. If you have the option to use the IRS data retrieval tool, it is highly recommended, as it will automatically import all of that data so you don't have to manually import it, and it will save you a huge amount of time. A few tips for using the IRS data retrieval tool: if you enter in the information and it gives you an error or it doesn't come back through, re-enter it again. The system has to have your information entered exactly as it appears on your tax returns. So on your tax returns, if something's capitalized or abbreviated, then when you're filling out the IRS DRT, you have to either abbreviate it or capitalize it as it is on your tax returns. So as I said, if the DRT isn't working right away, try how you're typing stuff out, make sure it matches exactly with your tax returns. But if it doesn't work or you don't have the option to use the DRT, you can go ahead and just manually enter in your tax information by continuing on. Now, if you're not using the DRT, you will have to manually enter in your tax information. Flipping through taxes, looking for the numbers you need can be a bit confusing. So if you're looking for what you may need to enter for these different questions, what you can always do is just click on the question mark next to the box. It will bring up this little pop-up, and if you scroll down, it will show you an example of an IRS 1040. It will actually highlight the box that you're looking for. So you go ahead, click that little question mark, have it show you what you're looking for, and then you can flip through your taxes, find that number, and go ahead and enter it there and continue on. Again, just like the last question, if you're not sure where to find the numbers that it's asking for, you can once again click on the little question mark and then scroll down to review the highlighted areas. Once you find the information that it's asking for, you could enter that in and continue on. The next question is asking if your parents filed a Schedule 1 to report unemployment compensation, educator expenses, IRA deduction, student loan interest deduction, or Alaska Permanent Fund dividend. If you did file a Schedule 1, or if your parents filed a Schedule 1 to report any of those, you'll select yes, but if not, of course, you'll select no and continue on. Once again, it's asking for more information from my parents' taxes, so I'm using the question mark right here to find the sections I'm looking for, so I could go ahead and enter in the number and continue on. The next section, you will enter amounts only if applicable. If not applicable, you'll go ahead and just keep the zeros. The first question is asking if your parents received any combat pay or special pay. Next, it's asking if your parents received student college grants or scholarship aid that was reported to the IRS in their income. It also asks for education credits, untaxed portions of IRA distributions, IRA deductions, as well as tax-exempt interest income from your IRS 1040 line 2-A. Like I said, if the answer for any of these questions is 0, you'll go ahead and just keep the 0 and continue on. Continuing on, it will ask if there is any child support paid by your parents. It will also ask for any earnings from work under a cooperative education program offered by a college. And then it will also ask for taxable earnings from need-based employment programs such as federal work study and need-based employment portions of fellowships and assistantships. If the answer is 0, you'll go ahead and just leave the zeros and continue on. Next, it will ask you for any parent untaxed income. First, it's asking for child support received for all children. Keep in mind that the previous page had child support that was paid. Now it's asking for child support received. Next, it's asking for any housing, food, and other living allowances paid to members of military, clergy, and others. After that, it is asking for payments to tax-deferred pension and retirement savings plans. It's also asking for veterans' non-deduction benefits such as disability, death pension, or dependency. And then finally, it's asking for other untaxed income not reported, such as workers' compensation, disability benefits, etc. Continuing on, it will ask you for information regarding your parents' assets. So first, it will ask you for the total balance of cash, savings, as well as checking accounts as of the day that you are filling out the FAFSA application. Next, it'll ask you for the net worth of their investments, including real estate, but keep in mind that does not include the home that you currently live in. That includes other real estate investments outside of the real estate property that you may be currently living in. And then finally, it asks you for the net worth of your parents' business if they own one with greater than 100 full-time employees. So that goes ahead and wraps up the parent financials section, which brings us to the student financials section. This will ask you the same questions, just this time about the student instead of the parents. So beginning with, for 2021, have you completed your IRS income tax return? Now, if you're a high school student, or maybe you don't work, or you do work and you didn't earn enough to file taxes, that is okay. You'll just select not going to file and you'll continue on. Once again, though, if you did file, you may have the option to link your FAFSA with the IRS data retrieval tool. So again, if you do have that option, of course it is highly recommended. But if you don't have the option, or you don't need to have the option because you didn't file, we'll go ahead and just continue on. Next, it'll ask you some of the same questions that it asked your parents, just this time about you, the student. Starting off with any child support that you paid. It'll also ask about your earnings from work under a cooperative education program, and then your taxable earnings from need-based employment programs. So if the answer is 0 to any of these questions, you could just leave the pre-filled zeros and continue on. Now, whether you filed or not, or whether you worked or not, it still will ask you some questions about your income, starting off with how much you earned from working in 2021. So if you didn't work and you didn't earn any money, then you could go ahead and just enter in a 0 and continue on. Once again, there's more of the same questions, but for you, the student. So first, it's just asking for child support that you received as opposed to paid, which was on the former page. And then it will also ask for housing, food, or other living allowances, payments of tax-deferred pensions, veteran non-education benefits, other untaxed income. And then a new question for this year is, it is asking money received or paid on your behalf. For example, bills that were not reported elsewhere on this form. This includes money that you received from a parent or other person whose financial information is not reported on this form, and that is not part of a legal child support argument. So if that pertains to you and there is a number for you to enter here, you go ahead and do that. But if not, you can just leave it at 0 and continue on. And then finally, it will ask you, the student, for your assets. So once again, it will ask you, as of today, what is your current balance of cash, savings, and checking accounts? It will also ask you for the net worth of your investments, as well as the net worth of your family business. But if the answer is 0, of course, you could enter in 0 and continue on. Once you wrap up the student financial section, it will bring you to this page where verification will be required if there are any errors with your FAFSA application. If there are any errors, it will tell you what the error is as well as how to fix it. It will give you the information to review and fix, and then if you've done so, you go ahead and just continue on. That brings us to the final section of the FAFSA application, where you review your summary and then you sign and submit. So what this page is here is, this is your FAFSA summary, where it includes all the information from all the different sections. You could go ahead and scroll through here, review all the information, make sure that it all is accurate. Once you've done that, you can scroll all the way down to the bottom. You do have the option if you'd like to print this page for your records, or you can continue on. Now, before you sign and submit, there are just a few last questions for you, the student, that you do have to answer. This page is new for the 23-24 FAFSA application. It just asks you for your gender as well as some other information. So go ahead and just select that and we can continue on. None of this information, these questions here, they don't affect your aid eligibility, and it will not be used for any aid calculation. So go ahead and just make the accurate selections and we can continue on. This brings us to where you will finally sign and submit your FAFSA application. You do have to read the terms before proceeding, so go ahead and just read through these terms, and then you will check off that you agree to the terms outlined above, and you will click Sign the FAFSA form. that will go ahead and sign the form for you, the student, but you will still have to have a parent sign your FAFSA form as well. So we can go ahead and click Provide Parent Signature. It will go through the same process where they have to agree to terms, and then they can continue on. So there will be a few different options when it comes to the parent signature, depending on your situation. Most likely, it will have your parent log in with their FSA ID to electronically sign and submit your FAFSA application. If your parent does not have an FSA ID because they do not have a social security number, then from there, they'll go ahead and just print out, physically sign, and mail in the FAFSA application. Or for the time being, you can submit your FAFSA without parent signatures. However, we don't recommend you do that because it will just get rejected and it will show errors. From there, you'll go ahead and just hit continue and you can have your parents sign, print out that page, or you can continue on without signatures. After both you and your parents sign and submit your FAFSA application, it will take you to the final screen that will say, congratulations, your FAFSA form was successfully submitted. From here, you could read some general information about what happens next. You could print out your page that shows an abbreviated version of this confirmation page, and then you could read some general information as well. That goes ahead and wraps up our walkthrough for the 2023-2024 FAFSA application. More information can of course always be found at studentaid.gov or fa.nmsu.edu. Thanks for watching. Go Aggies.